Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Aesthetic and Wellness Edge. I'm your host, Bethany Gifford, and this is the podcast where we sit down with leaders shaping the future of aesthetic and wellness to uncover their stories, strategies, and lessons learned from building thriving practices. Today's guest is a nurse practitioner who went from Googling how to start a business to leading a 15-person med spa team, launching a consulting company, and even building an academy for injectors. But first, a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by New Era Intel. At New Era Intel, we help medical spas, dermatology clinics, and plastic surgery practices who are struggling with inconsistent patient retention, underutilized CRM systems, and manual systems that hold back your clinic's growth potential so they can finally increase quality repeat bookings, streamline operations with AI automation, and grow predictable monthly revenue with the right systems and strategy. They're able to create a premium, seamless patient experience while freeing up their team to focus on what they do best. If you would like to take your business to the next level, head over to neweraintel.com to get started.
I am thrilled to welcome Jodi Mehlenbacher, founder and CEO of Thrive Wellness in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jodi is a family nurse practitioner with over a decade of experience in aesthetic medicine, plus a strong foundation in primary care, functional medicine, and weight management. She founded Thrive Wellness in 2017 and has since expanded in consulting, injector training, and an educational course through the Thrive Wellness Academy. Jodi, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, what inspired you to go from a cardiothoracic nurse into aesthetics and then eventually owning your own med spa?
Well, when I was in the cardiothoracic space, I was working at the hospital. I did that for 6 years. I loved it. I loved my patients. I loved what I was doing. But I was also working night shift and 13 hours. And again, I loved it, but I just knew that I didn't want to have to do that forever. So I ended up going back to school. At that point, I still didn't know exactly where I was going to end up. I didn't know where I was going to go. Knew that as I went through clinicals, I would see a bunch of different areas again. And when I went through, I did primary care for a year and a half, did some functional medicine, kind of all the areas that you had mentioned. And eventually I just kept thinking, I do love the aesthetics aspect, and I love how that um, builds confidence and can change how people feel. And so I knew that I wanted to explore that. So then I ended up going and getting certified for injections, and knew when I did that class, I said, this is going to be, I think, my home. So I ended up going through and getting an office that allowed me to incorporate injections into what they offered. We added that service, and then I started, and that was it.
That's awesome. It's an incredible field. I remember I started out my medical journey in the emergency room, and I knew right away, I was like, nope.
Yeah,
This is
or you don't. It's
me.
very quick.
Not for me. And I also found aesthetics and loved it very, very much.
Mhm.
So I get the shift for sure. Well, you literally started from scratch and created this amazing 15-person
Yes.
team. Can you share a little bit what it's like for our listeners, literally going from Googling, how do you start a business all the way into where you guys are now?
Yes. So when you first start, I knew the medical side, right? They teach you all that in school. They don't teach you business. They don't teach you how to start, how to run, how to manage, how to hire, how to all of that. I mean, it's uncharted territories, and you're just trying to figure it out as you go. I remember the first time I thought this was a good idea. I called the accountant and I said, "Hey, I want to start a business. What do I do?" And he goes, "Well, you need a business license." I said, "Okay." And then he goes, "And you need a tax license." I said, "Is that not the business?" He's like, "There's," and he kind of started laughing. He goes, "There's a lot of different certificates or licensing and things that you're going to have to get." I went, "Oh, okay." So then I had to go back and I spent a lot of time on researching, a lot of time on Google, and asked a lot of resources for people that I knew that were running businesses. that were doing well and that were successful. And so using those resources helped to kind of guide me a little bit in what I was doing and what was working and what wasn't working. And so I knew where I wanted to go. I just didn't know how to get there. So that was the part that came in with the research and the Google. And I had worked in different offices, some that were amazing, and some I said, I'd probably change this a little bit. Let's tweak and incorporate something different. So it was quite a process for sure. Definitely a steep learning curve.
Uh,
Um,
Big time.
Things I would never do again that just didn't work well, or stuff that worked phenomenally the first time, and I'm like, "Okay, let's repeat this again."
Yes. Yep.
Mhm.
I know. Sometimes people are out there trying to reinvent the wheel, but as far as business steps go, goodness, I remember that from my first business, just trying to get in there and
Yeah,
figure out franchise tax and sales tax and tax
yeah.
tax.
What is this? What is it?
I know we need to find someone else out there that does that type of course. It'd be great for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Well, well, so in your current Thrive Wellness, what kind of services are you offering, and what was the decision that was based on that to kind of focus on that?
So for me, when I started my own office in 2017, I knew I wanted to start with the services that brought in the most people, had decent revenue, and actually could start small. So I didn't want to compare to the med spa down the road that was offering 150 services, and they were, because yes, you that may be your end goal, but like how do you start and do it well the first time through? So I started with injections because I knew I was certified in that. I didn't need to hire a whole huge team. That is something that most of the patients are coming in for anyway, because they don't like the 11s that are right there that are the angry lines. So that's a first service that we added, that then we could grow from that. Then I brought an esthetician in for all things skin, right? So facials, microneedling, chemical peels, the basics of that that would help to support the patients that were doing injectables. I could funnel them to that, and then they would come back to me for injection. So it kind of cross sells very easily. Then after that, we added in things like body contouring and the devices. And I didn't buy all of them at once. I would buy one, launch it, get everybody trained in it, make sure it was good, then do another one. So you have to add very slowly. Otherwise, if you add too much too fast, you're
Yeah.
overwhelmed and you're not good at anything.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in, some of our clients' practices where they run right out the gate and they bought 10 lasers and hired 30 people, and it's like,
The
"Whoa."
rep will the rep will tell you, you get the device in there, people will come, they will just show up. It doesn't work like that. You have to pull from your patient base, you have to market to them. You can't just buy 5 devices and expect it to just be booked out. It does not happen like that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, we were just talking to, a laser company the other day, and they were extremely ethical, which not all salespeople can be, and they literally said in certain demographics, certain areas, they were not going to sell that particular laser
Yeah,
because nobody in that area needed that particular laser,
yeah,
The sun
yeah.
only came out once a hour, or something.
Well, and as a provider, you have to know what your patients are interested in and what they need. So if I've seen all of these patients and it just doesn't fit with my patient demographic, don't get it, because then you're
Yeah,
going to be struggling just constantly trying to make that busy in that specific device. I love my devices. The ones I have, I absolutely love, would highly recommend. But go to all the conferences, try them all, see them all, and then pull your audience. We've had
yeah,
people that came in and pitched a laser to us. We thought it was going to be amazing. I said, let me do some research first. Posted it on Facebook. Hey, if we get this, what would you guys do? Would you want it? And if it's crickets, don't.
yep.
If you get a wait list of 30 people, okay, pull the trigger, do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we always
Mhm.
recommend, especially for the front desk because that's usually the first point of contact
Yes.
is, people call in, "Do you have such and such laser?" Well, instead
Hmm.
of saying, "No, we don't," like, what are you wanting to,
Yep.
fix, or what's your
What are you
concern?
addressing? Yep.
Yeah, like, what's the end goal? Like, because we could get you there with this, or such
Hmm.
and such, so and then
Yeah.
always be making notes, always be like, "Wow, they're requesting this," and then you get your little case studies going, so
Yep.
I love
And
that. Yeah, it's really good advice, especially for people that are just starting, for sure.
yeah, Don't try and grow too fast because
Yeah.
then you'll just be spread way too thin.
That was a big challenge for you, I'm sure, to be able to kinda grow slow. What were some big wins from going from scratch, would you say that you did right for sure?
Um, I would say our organic growth was really huge. I didn't have investors and I didn't have a lot of money to throw at it. And a lot of people will start and they'll say, "Oh, I've got a $300,000 budget. What am I doing?" I did not have that.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I remember buying that one vial of Botox and going, "This has to go in somebody's face now." And so then it was literally, how do I market? How do I build? How do I reach these people? And so for us, it was organic growth. It was, please tell your friends, please tell your family. If you love it, tell everybody about it. So I knew if we came in and we did a good job and did really good services, that they would go and tell other people. And I started with my pricing really low, because I needed people in the door initially. And so I think my talks was like $8 a unit or something, which is unheard of. And people go,
Yeah.
was it, is this real or are you watering it down? No, I needed people in my door that then I could cross sell, and then they knew that it was good product, good services, good providers, and then we have loyal customers and it worked. And so for us, I think providing those services and then them going and sending their friend and their family and whatever, and they're driving in from Kentucky or wherever it is that they're coming from, that to me is a huge win that says we're doing something right that they're telling everybody else. And even if they do move away, they're still coming back for their stuff.
100%. I
Mhm.
know we really, stress on lifetime of a patient, how to facilitate that, how to retarget that, how to cultivate that culture of people you being loyal and returning. Because you get a lot of, Botox hoppers out there, just
Yes.
trying to find the best deal, and, people are losing that connection and being able to capture that person, so
Yeah,
that
and a
goal.
lot of places will constantly try and market to new customers, new patients, which is important. But if you can't keep the ones that you've already got, then
Yep.
you're just in that wheel trying to constantly catch the next person that's going by.
Absolutely. I know our
Mhm.
agency's number 1, they're like, "We need to advertise and get new people in the door," and I said, "Wait.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
retarget who you got, and we'll be doing that in the background, but for right now, let's get all your people and remind them."
They
Gentle
know you
remind.
and they're comfortable with you and they really like what you've done, hopefully. And so if that's the case, you'll have no problem bringing them back in and continuing services and then cross-selling to other providers in the office, whether it be your esthetician or your body contouring or your laser tech or whatever that looks like. But
Yep,
Mhm.
100%. Well, apart from your amazing, thriving, Thrive Wellness Center, you you have started an academy, training, med spas and also injectors. What
Yes.
kinda motivated you to launch that, and how's that going?
That was never necessarily on my radar in the beginning. I was literally just trying to grow and build and scale, for our office initially. But as I was doing that, other providers that either went to nursing school or nurse practitioner school with me, or even people in the surrounding area, people at conferences were following us on social media saying, "How are you doing this? Like, I've watched you from scratch when we had a little wooden chair against the wall that we were just, that was our injection chair. We had nothing fancy. And so like, how are you going from that to now where you're at now? You should do something that teaches other people how to do this." And I thought, huh, okay, I would love that because then I do love the teaching portion. I love going to the conferences and teaching how to do the injections and all that stuff. We've done live demos at different conferences and stuff. But um, when people kept asking, "How are you doing this?" I'm like, okay, I have the content. I know what we did and how we are doing this. And we do operate a little bit different than some of the other med spas out there as far as like how we're doing what we're doing. And so I finally found somebody who could take my vision of putting it into a course because I know nothing about technology, terrible with it. And so she packaged all of that into a course. So we did all the recordings and she put it all together. So now it's actually a sellable product, right? That people can get on and watch and say, "Oh, wow, okay, well, you duplicate this and then go create one or scale, depending on where they're at."
Yeah.
But it was just people asking constantly saying, "How are you doing this? what would you do in this scenario? What would you do
Yep.
in that scenario? How do I add this? And so it just kind of created itself um, as far as the need.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
I know people are there's so much talent out there and people watch and observe and
Hmm.
you're obviously a really good instructor. And that's rare, and injectors, everybody needs a good injector. There is not one place that I've encountered or worked with or met, through the industry that
Hmm.
doesn't 100% rely on their injector, because it's just
Well,
a
and
it's a
I'll
great
always
tool.
tell everybody too, even the injectors that I have come in here, they do all the training with me because I want for our patients to, when they come in, it be very consistent across the board. But on top of that, I want for, even if it's somebody that the company comes in, Allergan or Evolus or whoever, that sends a trainer in and the trainer may be brand new. They might be brand new. I told our injectors, I said, pay attention now, because if you do, they may have heard something that's brand new, that's the best way to do things now and it's best practice, and they may know something that you don't know, even though you've been doing this for 10 years. They might have a nice little pearl of information that would really help you in your practice.
I love
So
that.
always learning.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So how do you kind of see the training and consulting shaping the future of aesthetics? I know that
Ooh.
education is key, but how do you see it kind of from your angle?
Well, so everything is always changing. So everything's always growing, everything is always changing. And I think if you're not constantly learning, you're behind. Technology, medical, doesn't matter. Go to the conferences, go do the trainings. Something that worked 10 years ago for me when I was first starting probably doesn't work today, or it doesn't work as well. So it's constantly shifting. And if you're trying to grow your business, you have to be up to date with the algorithm changes on Instagram or Facebook. Like it just doesn't work the same way. Social media was not a thing like it is now back in 2014 and 2017 when I was first getting into this. It's just totally different.
It really is.
So you have you have to stay up to date with the latest stuff, otherwise, in medicine and technology,
Yep.
otherwise it just isn't gonna grow the way that you expect it to.
Absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
we are huge on the AI aspect of things, and that wasn't the case a
No.
year. It was out, but it wasn't tailored for this industry. And since then, we have seen such a huge shift in people's automation and flow and communication and training. I mean, there's so many different aspects of,
Mhm.
implementing the new technology. And I loved what you touched on was to, maybe the younger, newer injectors, maybe they know something. And I
Yeah.
have been able to facilitate a younger team
Mhm.
that knows more and is better with the technology side, than because I used to be really up on the technology. I'm very tech savvy, but they're born into this, Yeah, they're like, this is my jam, we could do this and this and this. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
do it. You
Go
do
for
you.
it. Yep. Oh, so funny. I mean, but it's true though. Like there's so many things now that are such a core part of an office or a business as it grows that wasn't there in the beginning.
Mm.
And that's fine, but you have to be able to, even if I'm not tech savvy, whatever, find somebody that is and bring them in.
Yes,
So my marketing team's phenomenal. They run everything for me. I mean, you can tell where my line in the Instagram, Facebook feed stops and where they took over. It's very obvious where that line is because I would just crop my photos and post them and that was it. But like you can tell where they took over and it just looks so much better.
absolutely. Yeah, you gotta have a
Mhm.
good social media person for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, your, program is a little unique compared to others out there. What's just a couple points that really make you guys stand out?
So I think for us for the consulting portion, our goal was to, yes, you can Google how to start a business, right? That's what I did. You can literally, it'll give you the bullet points on get your business license, get your tax license, do all these, buy your supplies, start marketing, see patients. Okay. That's the basic. What our course does is it goes above and beyond that. How do you talk to a patient and how do you cross sell? How do you take them from they don't like these angry lines to now they're doing full body contouring with your other provider? How do you get there? How do you market that isn't just hiring a company that's going to bring in new patients, how do you keep that retention going? What are you saying in the room and how are they sending or your other provider sending them back to you? So for us, I love we have a talks package where it's 50 units for $500. And with that package, they get a free service. So it's a free facial. Say it's a um, free set of waxes, whatever the case is. That then that service with that package, because I stay busy with my injections all the time. So when they come in for that package, that extra little freebie is not only suggesting maybe a service that they would have never thought of, but then if they go and get it because it's free, they might love it. But then it gives them that time with that other provider to then have those conversations. And I'm not sitting there being super salesy. So I'm
Yeah.
not like, you need this and this and this and this and this. I can say, yeah, I think you should do this. Maybe a little bit this would help. And then I send them to that provider and they can have more conversations about that in that room. So it doesn't feel like we're super pushy because nobody wants to be pushed into something.
No. Especially when it comes with that, you go in and you don't wanna be sold on all these things that you, A, can't afford, B,
Hmm.
you probably don't need it, and C,
Yep.
you're like, "I don't know, like, I guess,
Yes.
I can barely come in here and do this." So it's like
100%. You always want to take their budget into consideration because if you don't and you just act like it's not a big deal, it is a big deal to them and it
for sure.
matters to them. And so for us, like our process is different too. So I think that's a huge component in our consulting too, where I didn't feel like I had enough hours in the day where I could not see people fast enough because we were booked out a month. And I'm like, I need help figuring out how we do this. So I brought in a medical assistant. And we go through all this in the consultant on how the whole process works. But now my times went from every 30 minutes to every 15 minutes because I have somebody who helps me do a lot of that in between of taking the photos with the aesthetic record and
Mm,
doing all of
big
that.
deal.
And they're prepping the patient one, drawing the things up, and then I come back and I'll do the treatment. But the patient is also with that medical assistant the entire time. So they're asking questions, they're talking about services. They don't feel like they're just put in a room and waiting by themselves and then, okay, let's do your stuff and then you're out the door. So it's a much different patient experience, which I think is huge.
That is huge, for
And
sure.
Google's not going to teach you that. You can get on and Google will tell you, okay, see your patients and get
Yeah,
your schedule system set. But it's a whole different ballgame if you can change that patient experience.
100%.
Mhm.
100%. Well, kinda growth, and you had touched on marketing that you guys are doing really good at, was through social media and
Mhm.
also, organically. What kind of strategies have you seen, probably for the med spas out there that are brand new? I know you said organic's great, but what if they do have a little bit of money? Like, what avenues have you seen that's really worked?
So we have just started to do some of the targeted ads. This is brand new for us because we had all been organic prior to this. And this has been within the last maybe 6 months or so. I don't think, and here's some of the things I have tried that didn't work well, is maybe setting up those booths when they do like a bridal show, or you spend a lot of money in a bridal show for maybe it's $2,000 for that booth. And you may maybe get one or two patients. It
Mm,
doesn't always translate into that type of growth that you're hoping for, where you may be better off to spend that money into a targeted ad and find an agency who's going to help and do that. Um, Print, I've done a magazine before. It did okay, but I think my money is better off in a different avenue, whether it be we have it's called Thrive Cash. So it's like $20 little gift certificates, and we'll give them out to patients and give them like 2 or 3 of them, and they can give them to their friends or whatever, and they'll get, like, Thrive points for giving them to their friend, and then their friend will come in, and so then they get that $20 gift certificate from their friend, so they bring that back in, and we know who has sent them, and so it's a very good money is spent so much better doing that than at a bridal show, and you can get thousands and thousands of cards. And so to
yes,
give those out to those patients, just 20 bucks, who cares? But they like you enough to recommend you to their friends or family, which speaks volumes to their person, right? So then when they come in, you already are off to a good start because they were recommended by somebody they know.
for sure. We had an interview with a gentleman who's got several med spas, and one of the things that he suggested that he he does out and about when he's at a bar or in
Mhm.
public or whatever.
Yep.
Those free free syringes, that some of the
Yep.
companies give out, take those and use them as marketing. So
Yep.
he would go out with a stack of 4 or 5 different cards and here's a free syringe and hand them out. And I
I
go,
love that.
who doesn't want a free syringe?
Yeah. You're like,
Home
"Yes,
comfort for
please."
life.
Mhm. Yep.
And I mean, they wasn't handing it out like candy, but the few that he had, he used that instead of using it into his inventory. And I thought that was
Well,
brilliant.
and even things like that, so when they give you those free syringes, use them as a giveaway. If you post it on our page and you say, "Hey, if you tag seven of your friends about for this," then you can end up promoting to and then you have to share your post or whatever it is. So you're reaching all of their audience that I would never have been able to reach by myself, but now somebody's friend is suggesting it again, and they're more likely to trust that. And then it just snowballs from there. And it's off of one syringe. You might get a reach of 60, 80,000 people just from like that. You give it away?
Power
Sure. Whatever.
power of social media these days, I'm telling you.
So different than it used to be. So different than it used to be.
Absolutely. Well, what would be like one you've given a lot of advice. Let me backtrack. You've given a lot of amazing advice, but what would be, one big thing that you would say for somebody that's just starting out their med spa journey, that you would be like, this is the number one thing that you need to just tackle first?
For the person starting in med spa, I'd say don't give up. Show up
Okay.
every single day. Doesn't matter how you feel, doesn't matter what the schedule looks like. Show up every single day and be consistent. Because if you are and you're constantly providing those good services, it eventually will catch traction and start to expand and grow. But you can't say, oh, it didn't work today. I give up. You might have started in slow season and it's just hard to get there and then it will start to pick up, say, the fall or the spring. And there's certain times of the year that just aesthetics is a little bit slower. So just don't give up, keep pushing, keep marketing. If you try something and it doesn't work and you tried the bridal show, don't say, oh, I'm done. I can't do this. Try something different and just mark that down as let's not do that one again and then move on to something different that worked really well.
That's
So
great. Very
yeah.
good advice. Very good advice. So what's next for Thrive Wellness, and your academy over the next 6 to 12 months?
So for me, I am never the person that sits down and go, okay, we made it. We're good. There's always a project, there's always something that we're working on. With the office, we're pretty status quo right now. We're just constantly working on the growth and continuing to build. But for us, I think the next 6 to 12 months is going to look more like the consulting. We're really wanting to get that up and going. We are rolling out other classes. So people who want to send their medical assistants in to get trained to understand how we have now gone from doubling my time, right, of seeing a patient every 30 minutes to every 15. Now I can see twice as many patients within that same time frame. And so just adding in classes like that that people have asked for of extra injection courses or medical assistant courses on how to make the office flow just that much better. So definitely education and kind of pushing that.
Awesome. 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 And please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, how they can visit your med spa, and how they can get their injectors and now medical assistants and other courses. How can they find you?
So our website is thethrivewellness.com. And in there, underneath the training, there's a little training tab. You can go under there for injection courses, consulting courses. It has the coming soon with the medical assistant course on there as well. So it shows all the stuff that we have. And Instagram is going to be Thrive Wellness LLC is the office one. And then for mine personally is Jodi underscore NP underscore injector. So
Cool.
that's us.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah,
Jody, thank you so much for sharing
yeah.
your journey and your insights. It's not every day that I get to interview somebody who literally Googled how to build a business and that's been
Yep.
thriving. Your name is so perfect. It's been thriving.
Yep. It's been
And I
there.
know a lot of people will be really, really interested in hearing this and using you for training. So, tons of inspiration and practical advice. I really appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
And for everybody listening, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Aesthetic and Wellness Edge on YouTube, and possibly on Spotify here next week. So
Mm.
keep an eye out. And you don't want to miss any future conversations, so spread this across the industry and invite someone that you know. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next episode.